Welcome to the Wealth in Yourself podcast, a show dedicated to helping you master the complex subject of money by simplifying it through stories and actionable advice. I'm Josh St. Laurent, and this is Wealth in Yourself. Welcome to the Wealth in Yourself podcast, where we help people to design their ideal life and take control of their time and money. I'm your host, Josh St. Laurent. Today, we're joined by Carla Titus. Carla is the founder and CEO of Wealth and Worth Within and acts as a fractional CFO who provides financial consulting and advisory services to business owners. She is a finance expert with over 16 years of combined corporate financial planning, analysis, strategy, and established business consulting experience. Her priorities for their clients range from growing profits, having cash in the bank, and paying themselves well so they can build personal wealth. Carla, welcome. Glad you're here.
Thanks so much for having me. So excited for our conversation. Can't wait to share with your audience, some good nuggets that they can take with them.
Absolutely. Likewise. Yeah, we had such a good conversation a couple weeks back now. So I've been really looking forward to this. And I like to just kick these off with, for anyone listening who isn't familiar with you and your work, like, what do you want them to know about what you do?
Yeah, often we get this question, what is a fractional CFO? And I think not a lot of people are exposed to this world, and I live and breathe it. So obviously it's hard for me to say, what do you mean you don't know what a CFO is? But we love to take the time to explain to our, potential clients or people that maybe haven't encountered this function in their business yet or a need for it. I start with the roles that they're familiar with. I say you have a bookkeeper probably doing your books, helping you categorize things, reconcile, providing you financial statements. And you have an accountant that's handling the tax side. Maybe you have a financial planner on your corner handling your personal side of financial planning, but who's handling your business financial planning? And that's where the role of a CFO really comes into play, to start looking forward on what are the things you want to achieve. How do we go about achieving them, creating an action plan for that so that we can make those goals a reality, not just saying, here's your projection, good luck. It's here's your projection and here's what we will encounter along the way as issues, problems, and things that we will solve together. So we partner to then help the decision maker, the CEO or business owner, to get the data that they need to make better financial decisions in their business. Also start to think about risk and opportunities. What do we want to achieve and how do we go about doing it? And keeping them accountable to achieving those goals and making progress. It's really easy for them to have questions like, can I afford to hire someone? Can I sell my business? Can I buy the house I want because the business is doing well profit-wise? But how much profit do you need for that? And financing their lives through their business is a big aspect of what we do and take into consideration when helping clients. So we serve as that function of making sure that we have some forward looking in the business, which is not currently happening if you just have a bookkeeping and accounting team.
I love that. I love that answer. And I want to get into like what you do specifically. But before we go there, for someone listening who says or is thinking that to themselves, wow, this is great. When does someone actually know, like what signs should they be keeping an eye out for in their own business to say, you know what, I should start looking for a fractional CFO?
Yeah, they're not getting answers to their money questions today with their current team. So they're saying, why isn't my bookkeeper telling me what to do with my numbers or going through the P&L with me and answering my questions? They're maybe thinking about, hey, why is tax time always a surprise? Why do I get surprised with a tax bill? They're not proactively planning their tax situation because they don't really know where they're going to end their year at. They don't really have the financial goals. Therefore, their accountant can help them strategize around tax savings and minimizing that legally for what they need to pay. They're asking questions like, can I afford to hire this person? And they have no idea how to even look at their numbers to tell them whether or not they can afford to do so. They're also starting to wonder, could this be better? I'm growing. I need some help. This is out of control. I don't know where to start. And they're lacking financial processes maybe in their company. They're just doing things and winging it. And they're like, it's time to get some structure in place and make sure that we have the right things in place to help support the business and the future we want to see.
Yes, definitely. And so for someone who's listening, who's like, wow, I could really use a fractional CFO. I have some of these questions. I think part of that appeal is, hey, I'm not hiring another full-time employee, for example. So my question for you that I'm thinking through is like, how do you fit into that larger team that they already have? Do you see yourself replacing like the bookkeeper and the CPA, or is it more like we work in conjunction with your existing team to sort of enhance what you're already doing?
Yeah, fantastic question. And we get this a lot too. We are not here to replace anyone. We're here to collaborate and add a third leg to the stool that you already have, which is strong. You have a strong foundation with a bookkeeper in place and the accounting team. And we're not here to run your payroll, do your taxes, or do your books. Though we do offer that service around bookkeeping, it's really intended to work with the existing team in place. We don't want to disrupt what's happening. We just want to complement and augment with a different level of expertise as we're, planning that forward piece of the business that maybe doesn't exist today. We leverage the work of your bookkeeper and your accountant to be able to support that. So they're an integral part. What ends up happening often is we come in and we start working with the teams and, talk to the bookkeeping team or the accounting team. And maybe we find that there's a gap in skill set or something that's missing. And we love to coach and guide the bookkeeping team to just, review data or structure data the way we need to see it for decision making. As we're making sense of what's happening in the business and we see how things are being tracked, we might have suggestions and advice. We also love to continue to develop the bookkeeping team because they could be fantastic if they had a little guidance. Maybe they just don't know. And so we're not all about just coming in and replacing everyone, but we do have the ability to bring in an experienced bookkeeper if your bookkeeper just maybe doesn't have the skill set or expertise and maybe you've been considering moving on, but you didn't know where to go. We kind of bring it all in one place and can do the CFO and then my team can do the bookkeeping, which then becomes, a different level of support. But still, if you don't bring the bookkeeping, we could still come in as a fractional CFO, which means you're not hiring a full-time position. You don't need a full-time position. There's not enough scope to have a full-time CFO in your firm, and you most likely won't be able to afford one anyways. So we come in at that fractional role to support just enough and make sure that we are helping you make progress without the cost.
As a CFP, I'm over here nodding because I know the power of working with a team and developing the bookkeeping team, especially if it's specific to your industry and what you do. Can you share any success stories as far as maybe, the journey that a client came through? Hey, they came to me and these are sort of the issues they had. A year later, these are all the things we worked through and here's where they're at now. I would love to hear.
Yeah. So when we onboard a client, the first thing we do is we work through setting some goals for the year. If they haven't already done that, we will start there because we have to get really clear on what are we trying to achieve first. Out of that conversation comes a lot of priorities, as you know, and we might have a need to fix them all at once, but we have to also pace ourselves. As you know, we can't just, come in and overhaul everything. We would love to, but we just, we have to be able to prioritize. So we work with the client to prioritize the top 2 or 3 things we need to accomplish. It could be financial processes. It could be lack of clarity on their data. It could be maybe the data is not, well tracked or we don't have what we need in order to be able to do this. So we start to tackle one of those things at a time. Maybe it's a payroll issue or process they created that they kind of made up and they have no idea if it's good, efficient, but they know that it's a pain point. So we want to solve it. And we start to evaluate by priority what is most urgent and what's important for the business to be able to solve first before we move forward. So we become really strategic about where we put our focus. And it's all driven by obviously the needs of the client, the company, the stage, the growth that they're going for, but also making sure that we bring in our expertise on, well, we know when we fix this, then this 10 things also are resolved. So we might just want to start with that area of focus. We do an assessment on the books. We do make sure that the foundational data is structured correctly, that we have the right chart of accounts, that we provide the right oversight there. Once we're past that, then we can get into more strategic thinking about where are we investing the money? What is some of the costs that we're seeing and how do we shift that to optimize for the profitability we're trying to see? Maybe it's an issue around the owner's compensation not being high enough to meet their personal wealth building goals. And we want to start focusing on how do we start to shift that to make sure that there's enough room for them. And so every client goes through that process. And a year later, what we see is we have not only paid for ourselves, but we've also grown profits above and beyond what they're paying us to be their fractional CFO. And as you know, Josh, the numbers don't lie. The P&L is clear. Either you did or you did not. A year later, the P&L looks different. The numbers shifted. The percentages got better. And that's how we can tell our clients whether or not we're doing a good job being their CFO. Of course, not every client's a success story, as you know. There's people that maybe don't make as much progress as they wanted to. There's obstacles and things that come up. And often we help them deal through them and handle them as we go.
Wow, I really like that answer. We talked about sort of what you do for your clients and the success story and the progression that they make, and you getting into the numbers and making sure you have good data to go off of. So I'm curious, the clients that you work with, do you find that a lot of them are wanting to be very, very involved and in the P&L with you and looking at the data? Or is it more so, hey, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to be hands off and sort of hand this over to you, or maybe a mix of both. And the reason I ask is as a financial planner, we get a mix, right? There's the people who want to be very involved. And then there's the people who say, I never, ever want to look at this, Josh. I trust you, you do it. So I'm curious, as a fractional CFO, what kind of business owners do you typically work with?
Yeah, and we definitely have the spectrum just like yourself, Josh. There's some clients that just love to dig into the spreadsheets and want to even do some of the, formulas and things. And we're like, of course, it's always welcome. It's your business. We want you to have what you need and the support at the level you want it. And at the same time, we say the reason you outsource this is because you trust us. We're an expert at what we do and we can recommend best ways and best practices, right? I think often we get the kind of clients that shy away from the numbers, to be honest. They're like, I'm not good at numbers, or I don't like numbers, or numbers don't come natural to me. And what we do is we create a set of tools for them. We find that visually, sometimes clients can better see trends and things, and we are able to better explain numbers when we put some graphs together. So we actually set up a client CEO dashboard that they're able to review with us every time we meet. It's kind of our baseline and go to where all things come together, all the data, all the trends, and all the information that they will need about their business finances. And that seems to take the overwhelm out of it and also encourage a lot of the people that are not quote unquote good with numbers to actually want to review the numbers, because visually it just becomes more appealing and it's easier to maybe spot trends than you would have otherwise. We do that for all of our clients, regardless if they're good at numbers or not, or they love numbers or don't love spreadsheets. We still do that. And that is part of the accountability, but it's also, we consider this a partnership. This is not you delegate it and forget it. This is not good luck to you and then let me know how things are going, because the business has to be able to perform financially and you have a stake in that. It's your business. We're here as consulting advisors to help you improve on it, accelerate your path to seeing the results you want to see faster with less pain, with less risk. But we're not here flying solo. It is a partnership. It's the CEO making decisions, the CFO bringing the data to help make better informed decisions. And then together we're brainstorming what we should do, how we should tackle the challenges. And then when, the wins come, celebrating those together as well, because we want things to go well. We want you to see the ROI and the things that we're doing. We're big on that. And also anywhere that we are investing money or making, decisions to go after, we're measuring the results of all that. And you need to know what's happening with your business. It's not here you go, I never want to see it again. We don't let our clients off the hook, but again, the right clients, they love that because they're like, oh, finally, I have someone to work with on this that is not my team, because I can't tell them if payroll can be made in 2 weeks. And I can't tell my team if we're running out of cash flow. And I can now make plans on how to improve on these issues and come out ahead on the other side.
So, for someone listening who is thinking about bringing on a fractional CFO, what does that sort of time commitment look like? I'm sure you're available, for emergency type needs, but what is that regular cadence? Is it quarterly meetings or monthly, or what typically makes sense for most of the business owners that you work with?
Yeah, and depending on the level of support that they want, we have a few options. Most of our clients meet with us at least twice a month. Some will only meet once a month that are more like me on maintenance. They're not growing as much. They don't need as much support. We have options, and we always say we're just trying to meet our clients' needs. We do want to be integrated in the team and a part of the team. And in order to do that, we need to at least be able to touch bases a couple times a week. And as far as like client hours committed to doing this, it's really, heavy on the email back and forth on things as we're solving them. There might be some things we're working in the background for them, doing the analysis and bringing back the key takeaways to our meetings. We try to honor that because we know you're busy business owners running, established businesses that take a lot out of you. We're not trying to add to your plate, but take things off your plate and then come back to have those meaningful conversations only. And then, of course, things happen in a business, and there will be those emergency calls where I'm going to get a text or call saying, hey, we need to meet, something happened. And we always welcome that. We want to be available to our clients to make sure that we're meeting the need when the need comes, not a week later when, you already had to figure out how to get through that. We are there with them. We're playing the game. We're in the field with them, passing the ball, and then hopefully passing it back and making sure that things are happening as we're going through the support that we're delivering to them.
So, for someone listening who maybe isn't ready yet for a fractional CFO, right? Maybe they're a solopreneur in their first year of business. Is there any tips or tricks that you can tell that sort of business owner to help them get the right systems and processes in place now to set them up for success down the road?
Yeah, so you should have a solid financial foundation by having that bookkeeping and accounting team in place. If you're gonna, look at your accounting side of the business, make sure that that side of the house is in order to ensure that down the road when you're ready to grow and hire a CFO, that is not a mess. We find that often that is neglected because it's not sexy, it's not fun until tax time, and then everybody's like, "Oh my god, I didn't do my books for the last 12 months." Don't let that get behind, and if you need to hire help early on to make sure you stay on top of it monthly, do it because there are affordable options out there that help you stay on top of it. So it's not tax time, fire drill every time. Taxes are not a surprise, people. It happens every single year. Let's be prepared for that. And just setting those good habits and discipline up front are going to help you. The other thing I'd say is people that are not ready to hire us on retainer also come to us for the expertise of a one-time projections project. So they just want to know for the next 12 months, what should I achieve? How do I achieve it? And what are some things I need to be aware of? And we develop those plans with alongside them as a one-time project, so as a one-time cost. So if people want to access the expertise but don't feel like they're ready for a retainer CFO on staff, we understand, and that's why we're able to support them in those different ways. And if nothing else, we can do your books. You are better served. Your time is better served elsewhere, like growing your business, doing all the things, managing your employees and such, than being in QuickBooks or some other software that you don't understand, you're frustrated with, and then that's why you never want to do it. So for, a couple $100, you can outsource that and it's pretty seamless because you get your statements and now you're able to make decisions based on that information.
I love that you have the one-off option, for the people who aren't ready for the retainer yet. I think that's a great option to offer business owners. I want to transition a little bit away from the business and just ask you, Carla, how you got into this. Like, what's your background? How did this come to be where you're helping business owners as a fractional CFO?
Yeah, so I actually started because my mom is an accountant. So obviously, numbers run in the family. And I knew I didn't want to be an accountant, but I knew I loved business and I wanted to get into some field. So I got my undergrad in finance and then went to work for corporate for 11 years, doing financial analysis planning all the way to senior manager, with a team of four, delivering for the corporation all the analysis they need to make decisions. And I knew that along the way in my career, at some point, I realized businesses that were small, that, quote unquote small, because I still think they're pretty well established businesses, with, $1 to $10 million in business or even larger, that are considered quote unquote small, have a lot of need for financial expertise and support, but they weren't able to get the access to it. And so I just felt compelled. And, I'm very entrepreneurial myself. So I was like, oh my God, they need this. I need to provide it to them. And I started to see a need and I started to work with some companies, see some results, and it just started growing from there. And the need became bigger. So we just brought on another CFO to help support our clients. And we're able to take, the small businesses, give them the tools and expertise and access to the answers to the questions they're not getting today, but still be able to be accessible at a price that's not hiring a full-time CFO onto their staff, which again, they most likely don't need just yet. And it will be a while before we hope to work ourselves out of a job. Like our goal is to bring in an in-house CFO or controller to replace us one day because we did such a good job growing that business.
I love that. I'm curious about your own personal transition. We have a lot of people on the show who were, a decade in corporate America, sometimes longer. And then it was like, you know what? I'm starting my own venture. I'm going to be an entrepreneur and kind of follow that path. What was that like for you, that transition?
Yeah, I started doing some consulting while still in my corporate job. I, do nights and weekends, just found it fun. People needed help. It just was a good fit. And then when the business was growing, I realized it could provide me the lifestyle I wanted, the freedom, financial freedom and flexibility that I was looking for as I was raising my young family. And I thought that was really important to me at the time. And I figure, why not take a leap? Like, worst case, I can always go back to working a job. Well, that hasn't been a need for that yet, but it's been going well. And I get to work with amazing business owners that are dreaming big, but then we're making those plans a reality through the financial picture. Because, a lot of businesses go out of business because they lack cash or they are not knowledgeable in this area. And you don't need to go get an MBA to get access to this expertise. We can help you with that instead of you having to do it yourself. And so we just have a big passion and heart for small business owners. And for me, it just worked out that it gave me the flexibility and financial independence that I needed and wanted in my life for this stage, at least. and at the same time, the impact that I wanted to have in those small businesses that maybe would stay in business longer because they have our help.
Yes, I love that. I resonate so much with what you said. And I love how even our business names are so similar, wealth and worth
They are.
within versus wealth in yourself. The message is very similar. So I want to transition to ask a couple questions, about you personally and like what wealth means to you. Before I go there, what else have I not asked? What am I missing about fractional CFOs that we really should be talking about that other people are not talking about?
Yeah, I think where fractional CFO can play a critical role in helping businesses is at that growth stage. I think a lot of times business owners are not prepared. What happens if your business doubles tomorrow? What happens if your business starts to just grow out of control beyond what you can handle yourself? You have to hire more people faster. And they're not prepared because they haven't thought about it and they haven't put a plan in place on what happens if. And so a lot of the work we want to be doing with businesses is preparing them for if things go well, what do we do? So they're not shocked by, what's happening and they're just reacting, which I think is what's happening with a lot of businesses right now. It's they're reacting, them doubling in revenue or like having to hire frantically and not finding the help that they need because they never develop a plan and they never thought, wow, one day this could happen to me. Or I did the right things, put in the work, and now it's paying off. And it's paying off a little too fast, too soon. And they just get overwhelmed. And then in that, they sabotage their success or potential success they could have if they had the right help at the right time. And so making sure that you're thinking about this ahead of time, that you're putting the plans in place, that you have a hiring plan, that what goals you're trying to achieve makes it really clear and tangible and easier to follow through because now you know step 1 through 10, what do I need to do? And I can go do it rather than just wait for it. And again, winging it, it's a very big concept that we find a lot with our clients. We're just kind of making it up. We don't know, like, someone help, please. And they're asking and reaching out to maybe the wrong functions in their business. So just kind of being aware of that and not let it catch you by surprise, especially if you're starting to do well. What if it goes and takes off? What are you going to do?
Right. It's such a recurring theme in finance, isn't it? Like being proactive versus reactive. I mean, it applies in so many different facets of finance. And then that concept of you just don't know what you don't know. I mean, even I'm guilty of that as a business owner. So seeking out that professional help, I think is so, so important. So I'm glad you said that. I want to transition to kind of the big three questions we asked towards the end of the show about you personally. And so the first one is, what does living a wealthy life look like for you?
For me, it's been a big journey in discovering a little bit more about that. That the career or the job one day will make it fulfilling or will be the end all be all. And I think sometimes in life, as you go through stages, your priorities shift. And so I've been very open about discovering what's important to me and when, and really truly aligning what I'm doing in my life to the values that I have and making sure that I'm living by those values. And it could be creating freedom of time through wealth building by having a business. It could be spending time with family, which is really important to me right now at this stage. It could mean, traveling and seeing the world because of the work I do. And that's, an awesome perk of having this. And none of that would have been possible if I didn't take a chance and risk to do my own thing. And I found myself one day, I was out in a boat with a couple of friends for this retreat we took on in Washington. And it was a Monday afternoon. I remember this vividly because I said to myself, is this my life right now? We went on a charter boat out to like the border with Canada to watch whales. And we were just sitting there watching whales, having a great time. And I was like, oh my God, is this my life? Like on a Monday afternoon, this is what I'm doing. I'm not sitting in like a corporate cubicle doing my analysis or why not, or presenting in a meeting. And nothing wrong with that. I think that served the purpose in my life at the time. And when it no longer was the case, doing this aligned better to where I was at and what I was doing. And so I'm always careful about thinking what serves me, how can my business do things for me instead of the other way around, which is I think the trap that we all fall into. We could work more, we could make more, we could go, 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 go. And then we turn around and we're like, what life are we actually living?
I love that answer. I couldn't have said it better myself. That intentionality, right? And you mentioned freedom of time. Like it's hard to achieve that in corporate America. I have that conversation with a lot of clients, and a lot of business owners start their business for all those exact reasons that you just said. So I love that. If you could give one message to someone working to gain financial freedom who isn't there yet, what would it be?
It's called patience. And you have to continue to have the discipline. I think that often in society or even in social media, you're sold the idea that you can get rich quick, that you can build wealth in a second by snapping your fingers. And to be honest, that is farthest from the truth, at least from personal experience and also from experience that other people have shared with me, that it takes time and dedication and discipline to invest, to be in there for the long game, to not try to pull out of the market when it's down, because we all trying to freak out and be like, oh my God, my money is going away. And reminding yourself that we're here for the long game, that we're here to build wealth long term, not get rich quick. And I think people need to just be a little bit more patient, know that they're on the right path, that they will see results, but they will not be tomorrow. And I think that's why so many people are not able to build wealth, is because they're trying to chase the next get rich quick scheme that, there's plenty of that out there. And you just need to know what's true for you. What do you want to invest in? And how are you going to stick it out for long term? And then maybe you'll build some wealth.
Yes, absolutely. I'm going to use that clip for certain clients who come to me with the get rich quick schemes to ask me what I think. I'm going to send them a video of Carla. If you only had $1,000 and you were starting over, what would be the first thing you would do with that money?
Oh, that's such a great question. I would get a website and I would pay for a ticket to conferences and try to maybe pay someone to get me on podcasts, or try to start some outreach campaigns with that money. And it could be like just, money to pay myself while I'm doing that myself, but it's that marketing side of it, like the sales side of it, and maybe a course to get better at selling, because I think a lot of people just are not natural at that. And it takes a lot of practice to get good at selling. And if you don't know how to sell and you're a business owner, like that's the number one key to growth. So you got to get better at it. And I would go pursue a business. Like that's what I would do. And if you maybe are trying to develop a skill, I would buy a course on that skill set to try to learn something faster, or a book that would tell me how to learn that skill fast to get good at it and start sharing value so people give me money in exchange for that.
Wow, that was a perfect answer. For someone who is listening who says, man, I need to reach out to Carla, where is the best place for them to track you down?
Yeah, they can check out our website at wealthworthwithin.com. Don't try to say that fast 3 times. It's really hard. Make sure you hit the contact button and book a free Q&A call with us. We would love to hear, what are you struggling with, how we might be able to help you and support you and meet that need that you're desperately in need of help for. And then if you're not ready to hire a CFO, which not everybody is, you can check out our bookkeeping services, same website -bookkeeping. You could also just follow us on our newsletter, sign up on our website for that. And if you want free educational content, because we're big on adding value and not asking anything in return for it, you can follow us on social media at wealthworthwithin. We would love to engage with you there. Tell us what actions you're taking because of what we're sharing is helping your business. We will love to know.
Amazing. And we'll put that in the show notes too, so it's easy for everyone to find. So this has been really fun, Carla. I'm glad that we did this. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I really enjoy our conversation.
Likewise. This has been the Wealth in Yourself podcast, where we help people to design their ideal life and take control of their time and money. Our guest today was Carla Titus. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time. The Wealth in Yourself podcast is hosted by me, Josh St. Laurent, and edited and produced by Ray Haycraft. To learn more about how to make your money work for you, visit us at www.wealthinyourself.com and connect with us on all social media at Wealth in Yourself. This podcast is educational in nature and is not meant to be investment advice. Please do not construe anything said to be advice, and the opinions of the guests may or may not represent the opinions of Wealth in Yourself. This podcast and the information presented are separate from my employment at Golden Gate University. Still, they are part of my mission to make no-cost financial knowledge more accessible. If you like the show, please take a moment to leave us a review. We read all of your feedback, and we want to make sure we cover the topics that matter most. If you have a specific subject you'd like us to explore or a guest you'd love to hear interviewed, don't hesitate to shoot us a direct message. And as always, thanks for listening.